integrated maritime policy, the EU integrated maritime policy, or maritime strategy, as it sometimes is alluded to, and some related topics. First, as an introduction, we note that the world, to a large extent, is covered by sea, by ocean, and also by air. Well, the usual numbers are that about 90% of goods per weight is transported by the sea, and some 80% when it comes to value are transported to sea. The European Union is itself, of course, also highly dependent on the sea. It's the numbers about the same as the world in general. So about 90% of when it comes to weight and 80% of value is imported, exported from Europe on keel. But the maritime services employ about 1.5 million Europeans, and 400 million Europeans are each year coming and going through European ports. What is perhaps less known is that also the internal trade of the European Union is also to a large extent carried out on keel. That some 40% of European internal trade is going on keel. And then for a long number of years now, the European Commission has worked on a program with the idea of an integrated maritime policy, and the blue book on them, which is called "When it's Ready to go to the Council," was taken. I think it was 2008. So formally, then we have an integrated maritime policy. There are a couple of problems here. The first problem is that the Commission in itself, the various commissioners and director generals, are not as integrated as they should be, and also, in spite of now having the Lisbon Treaty, this integrated maritime policy is sort of pre-Lisbon, so it's still in the thought about in the old pillar structure. We have not been able to take also into account also the second pillar issues, which would be particularly naval issues. There are, however, work also on the military side, in the maritime policy, maritime security way, and that is particularly done through the European Defence Agency, the EDA, and they have a team of, I think, 5 very senior admirals, which are called the Wise Pens, and they have made first a couple of years ago a big report where they say that the maritime integration, the natural way to start is through cooperation in maritime surveillance. Maritime surveillance is the key thing, because you don't know what's happening, you can't do anything about it. So we start with maritime surveillance, and it also is a very convenient way to increase cooperation. And there are now one big project, European Union project, and it's called Marsur for maritime surveillance, and there is a Marsur Nord, which is maritime surveillance north, which started in the Baltic, really. Sweden and Finland several years ago I think 2003, put up a completely integrated surveillance system, military, and integrated country to country and military to civilian. And this has spread over the Baltic, so I think all states, I'm not sure about Russia, take part of this. It's called BaltNet or something. And then Marsur Nord is building on this, and you also have France taking part in this project. In the Mediterranean, there is a corollary, and there's called Blue Mass Med, and there are several states, France, Spain, for instance, are members of this project, but not Cyprus. And of course, when Cyprus now starts to think about its economic zone and the maritime surveillance that is needed, one would recommend that Cyprus tried to sort of build up from the beginning a system which is compatible with this work. We should here note that the Marsur project builds on 8 integrating systems. Also, we are not building one big system, as we all know that this system never, ever becomes ready, because the technological development goes much further, much faster than you can start your cooperation. So instead, the idea is to have interoperable, so you make your various national systems interoperable. And so say maritime surveillance is of course one thing, and to do it is another. What do you need to do it? Of course, you need to fuse a number of informations coming from different various sources. Fixed radar, coastal radar stations is an obvious example. You would also use satellite pictures to the extent you have them. You will need to have ships, ships at sea that can help with identifying what you see. You should certainly have, when it comes to larger areas like the economic zone, you need maritime surveillance aircraft, which have, when they are equipped with side-looking radars, also have the capacity to find oil spills. So you can see those merchant ships that leaks oil voluntarily or not, which is very important. And you need a number of other sensors, of course, radar, infrared, and so on and so forth. And the FLIR, for instance, would be nice. Most such systems, perhaps the mainstay of the information would be the radar stations and the AIS system, the automatic identification system that all ships, in principle, over 300 ton, I think, is obliged to carry, are obliged to carry such a system. On the hand, you cannot trust it, as if a ship wants to do something that when it doesn't want to be seen doing it, it is easily turned off. You can see that in the Arctic Star incident in the Baltic Sea, when a Russian ship disappeared and popped up again somewhere outside of the coast of Africa. And there are also a number of other issues which need to be addressed. So obviously you need firewalls when it comes to military secrets, but because the military will want to know where their own and maybe allied submarines are, but they will not know that the civilian side would like to see where the submarines are. So that's one obvious thing. Another obvious thing is that police and customs, they try to find persons, and the military is not in finding persons. So there you also need a kind of legal firewall. So there are a number of difficulties, both technological and legal and practical. But basically, this goes well, and also it's a new twist here that before you always said information as need to know, but the buzzword is information you need to share, because all states need to share this information if we are going to have to be able to use the sea, stop pollution, trafficking. I mean, we all know that the Mediterranean is an important trafficking route for immigrants and drugs and so on. There is a problem here, maybe not a problem, but should also be aware of, but that also NATO is working in this direction. NATO has a maritime strategy, which I regretfully haven't been able to find on the net. Maybe it's secret. Anyway, the development on the NATO maritime surveillance system that starts with the military side and, so to say, also tries to go into the civilian side. The problem is here that non-NATO states are, so far at least, are excluded from this cooperation, which would mean that the NATO system would not encompass all European states. when it comes to European states like Norway is integrated in the Nordic cooperation way, so there's no problem. I don't think there's any problem. Maritime cooperation between Nordic states is one of Minister's most favorite things. So then, to leave maritime surveillance, we mentioned the project of motorways of the sea, and because it's rather interesting, as I said, a large part of this European trade is going on keel, but much too much, I would say, is going on motorways. As the European Union internal trade is expected to increase with 70% until 2020. It is not just possible to have all this trade on the motorways for environmental and well, pure practical reasons. So the idea then is to create an integrated land-sea systems where containers can go seamlessly from road to ships, to port, to ships and so. And such a system is on its way. It's highly prioritized by some countries, for instance Sweden, and there is always already, I've been told, the first motorway on the sea or working in the Baltic Sea. There are plans also for the eastern and the western Mediterranean motorway of the sea. There are some problems here, of course, also. You have to make the system function, you must have convenient ships. They can't be too big. They must be, because then it will take too long to load them and unload them. You must have a seamless, you should send fruits, for instance, on this system. They can't, of course, be stacked up in port. They must be really going from lorry to ship and back again. And that will take will require infrastructure and ports and so on. One could also imagine that a number of interest groups are against this. What will Europeans lorry drivers say, for instance? They are rather militant and so on. So there are such problems, and environmental groups and other groups. But there is also a legal problem, and that is that even between Schengen countries, ships which have gone out international water and back again are always thought coming in from the outside of Europe. And that means that you have all these problems with customs and so when you come ashore. And so there is also a kind of sister project here by the Commission, which is talk on the shipping system without frontiers or something like that. And when we count on frontiers, of course, we should remind us about Frontex, the European Union cooperation regarding the guarding of the Union's external frontiers, which of course would be very important here for Cyprus. And the Frontex can help. I mean, we have had Swedish Coast Guard people in Greece helping Greece Coast Guard to handle the refugee stream from Greece, and Frontex can also take part in education and training of other countries. So when we see this Coast Guard function, underlined function, in Cyprus in a couple of years, so they should of course cooperate with Frontex. Thank you.